These CEOs are a bit like kids, actually, playing with toys. We need to take away their toy so that they cannot harm themselves and everyone else.
Everybody's thinking back to like the banks being too big to fail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do a four panel of four today.
Panel of four,
Okay.
youth risk expert. Amazing.
Three dads running 3 YouTube channels, working to wake up the world to AI risk. Tackle 1 missed warning shot each week. If it's Sunday, it's warning shots.
Hey, I'm John Sherman, host of For Humanity and AI Risk Podcast. I need you right now to become a subscriber to the AI Risk Network. Go in, hit subscribe, hit alarm, do it. Hello and welcome back to Warning Shots. I am John Sherman, your host, president of the AI Risk Network. So glad you could join us. I'm joined, as always, by Michael of the Lethal Intelligence channel and my friend Liron of the Doom Debates channel. And every week we get together and talk about something that is a big deal in AI risk, but probably should be a bigger deal in the general world. I hear I love it. We love children. We're all dads. We like the kids. Yes. Oh, we have a first child appearance in Warning Shots. There it is. This is why we do it all. This is
my special correspondent to talk about risks to our youth.
Let's do a four panel of four today.
Okay.
Panel of four, youth risk expert. Amazing. Truly, we are all dads, and creating a better future for our kids is literally the reason why we take so many hours of our days and do this work that we do. So, yeah, love to see it, Liron. So this week, we're going to talk about our dear friend Sam Altman and some wild stuff that has been going on. 2 things about Sam we're going to talk about, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some stuff going on at Anthropic right on the end. But so first thing is started with OpenAI's CFO, who came out and said that if their data center investments go to hell, they need a bailout from the federal government to back them up. And they'd like us to backstop them on their investments. I'll go to Liron first, just sort of top line thoughts about them being so confident in this investment that is risking all of our lives, possibly taking all of our jobs. And if it goes badly, we may just be too big to fail. Thoughts?
So from what I've been seeing on social media, the order of events was first last week, Brad Gerstner, I think, one of the investors in OpenAI, asked Sam Altman on a podcast. It was just supposed to be a friendly podcast. Hey, Sam, you're talking about throwing around like a few billion here, 100 billion there. You guys are currently making about 14 billion a year revenue. Where are all these giant $1 trillion investments coming from? And on that podcast, Sam kind of made waves because he gave like this dismissive, catty answer, like, listen, Brad, you could feel free to sell your stock. There's a lot of people who want to buy your stock. Like, he didn't really answer the question. But then later they tried to smooth it over, and Brad was saying like, it was all in good fun. Like, I believe there's a good answer. And then the next bombshell, people are really hunting for bombshells here, it seems like, was Sarah Fryer, their CFO. She said in an interview, she used that term backstop, which she later tried to walk back. She was saying, hey, maybe the U.S. government will in some sense be a backstop. Like she talked about it kind of vaguely, and she's like, I shouldn't have said backstop. It's just this general point that when you have this huge company making all these investments, it does pull in a big chunk of the economy, which we actually talked about on Warning Shots a few weeks ago. So that was kind of the order of events on social media, and everybody loves dunking on him because, Gary Marcus came out and he was saying, hey, OpenAI is now pulling you in, your own retirement savings are now going to be bailing out OpenAI, and everybody's thinking back to like the banks being too big to fail.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
This is the best show yet.
Yeah, my kids are really adamant about regulating what banks are allowed to be putting your capital into.
They are. Oh my God! Now we got my dogs. This is great. Let's just get it going. Marching band going through here.
Yeah. All right. But I actually think there is a reasonable analysis of what's going on, which is just Sam thinks that these investments make sense, which arguably they do in terms of minting a lot of short-term profits. And he's like, look, if we do spend $100 billion or $1 trillion, all right, one sec, I can't talk over my kids.
Hold on, a little correspondent intervention. I got these canine correspondents down here. Bo, what are they doing?
Okay, so Sam is saying, hey, if I did have $1 trillion to make all of these investments, I would get a return. I know how to turn around that $1 trillion and sell it to the consumers of my AI and make money off this. The only question is, do I really want to wait until my revenues are higher, or can I just have the money now? And he's going out to a bunch of investors saying, give me the money now. And the investors are saying, well, what if something happens, right? What if you get hit by a bus? Like, we need some reassurance. And that's where the idea of the government comes in, of like, well, listen, if all of these data centers are provisioned, like somebody's going to take care of it so you get some money back. What?
And, I think it's worth pointing out here that a child is much like an artificial intelligence. It's its own intelligence. It's very hard to get it to do what you want it to do all the time. Like Eliezer said, if you think aligning AI is hard, go try aligning a cat. At least a human child can take some direction, but as we're seeing, they have a mind of their own, and they're going to do what they want.
Yes, it's tricky to align my kids to be quiet for an interview. That is true. And luckily they'll have good instincts though, right? So by the time they grow up, then I can assume that they'll most likely be aligned to my culture by default.
Yes. All right, Michael, tell us about Sam needing a backstop.
I mean, it starts to look very reminiscent to the 2008 crisis. The point here is the government gets more and more exposure of risk, to risk of success of a handful of companies. And in July, the Trump administration unveiled this AI action plan to rapidly build out data centers, create hardware for AI development, and remove federal regulations on AI to win the AI race. And back in August, Altman claimed that they will be spending like trillions of dollars on data center construction, and not in the very near, very soon actually. So America wants more production within the country, and OpenAI requires more and more computing power every single year. And the notion of government getting involved in AI infrastructure begs one question: who bails those governments? Who bails them out if the thing fails? And on a recent podcast with Tyler Cohen, Altman said, when something gets sufficiently huge, whether or not they are on paper, the federal government is kind of the insurer of the last resort, as we have seen in various financial crises and insurance companies screwing things up. So it is, we get a lot of vibes from the too big to fail, might see this kind of thing happening very soon. And don't forget, Sam Altman is the kind of guy, I don't know if I should go into this, but I mean, we've had so many examples where he gets his way. So, Sam Altman, so Sam was saying the board should be able to fire him. Then they tried to fire him and they couldn't. Sam said he will give 20% of compute for super alignment. Then, he dissolved the super alignment team and he didn't. He had said AI regulation is important. Then he's working towards the exact opposite thing. Ones.
Give me some other
Just
ones.
Look at the hands. Don't listen to the words. I mean, he said checks and balances of his power were important. Then he removed everyone who's opposing him. He just creates like loyalties. Everyone the board member now loves him. Everyone else is gone. It's so funny.
Yeah.
No one from the first days has survived the OpenAI culture.
Yeah.
And then he started raising trillions of dollars to build the compute for himself, when he used to say that he was talking about compute overhang. He used to say we need to build AI very fast before hardware is capable enough, because then we will not be able to control it. And then at the same time, he's raising trillions to create, let's say, the compute overhang. So, I can keep going. I mean, it used to be a non-profit. Now it's a for-profit, suddenly. And, I mean, bottom line, the guy is just a superhuman, almost Machiavellian kind of, he will find a way to the top and, to survive everything. It's quite impressive in that sense.
Yeah. And it's like with this guy, when you have like two possible outcomes, it always seems to end on the bad one, right? But let's just talk about what he needs this backstop for. So let's pretend I'm a community in America and they're saying, we want to put all these data centers around you. These data centers are going to take your water, your power, they're going to take your jobs. They may literally kill you and your family. Oh, and by the way, if the investment we're making to make this thing doesn't work, I need you to pay for it too. Absolute insanity. Like, who would sign up for that?
I mean, I think we should think more precisely about the scenario. So it's not like you're just stuck with a bill of useless stuff. I mean, what you're getting is data centers. And presumably data centers are going to be useful in some way, shape, or form. I mean, the nightmare scenario is everybody's like, oh, we have all the compute we need, but that seems super unlikely. So I think the framing of a bailout, it's not exactly right because you have this collateral, right? You have these chips. So I do think this is getting overblown. Like, I think people just keep confusing like what naive accounting looks like today with like the way the scenario really plays out. Like, another confusion is when people say, oh my God, OpenAI is losing so much money. It's like, well, it's not exactly losing money. It just keeps making big investments in the future. Like, if you do the right accounting, they have, positive margins. So similarly, when you talk about like the government bailing out, it's just more like most people still get most of their money back in this quote unquote bailout situation, which also reminds me, I remember like when the FDIC bailed out Silicon Valley Bank, it wasn't really a bailout. Like everybody got 100 cents of the dollar at least. Well, like, okay, except the equity investors, but that was different.
Here's a scenario I see, right? Like Elon this week is like, well, what if we just use all the Teslas to be the data centers and we spread it through the Teslas? Or what if we put satellites in space that are solar powered and we put the data centers in space? And so like these data center build outs are going to take 5 to 10 years. And the idea that the technology we're using in 5 to 10 years for data centers is going to be the same as it is today seems crazy to me. So like, these are long-term investments in a technology that's changing very rapidly. If there's some sort of advancement that, makes compute requirements smaller and it's a different kind of chip or it's a different kind of tech or whatever it is, and that happens in 2, 3, 5 years, we are going to have vast swaths of America that are covered with these giant coffins that are possibly useless or need to be totally retrofitted for some sort of entirely different use. So I think there is a very reasonable probability that the technology between when the data centers are finished and now changes so dramatically that there is a lot of just useless crap that's been built and taking up space.
Right. So I agree that the economy as a whole is being leveraged to the success of AI, but one AI company investing ahead of the others doesn't really change that fact, because I think just most people in the economy, most retail investors in the stock market are like, yep, let's throw money at AI. You see it. So Sam is really just like, a creature of his time. He's kind of making the most of it.
So he's at this event with the Warriors coach and public defender who is working for StopAI, who has a trial coming up, sends the public defender on stage to subpoena him, give him to put the piece of paper in his hand.
Years ago that you probably were at. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Will you help? No subpoena for Sam. No, good. Can you take him off the stage? Wow, getting off to a dramatic start already.
Quite a shocking event. When you have someone who is a public figure and someone stands up startlingly and moves towards the stage, that's obviously sort of a dramatic event. Michael, what are your thoughts about that?
In a way, once this happens, this trial will be the first time in human history where a jury of normal people are asked about the extinction threat that AI poses to humanity. There's going to be a lot of publicity on StopAI and the existential risk. And it's important that they're going to make Sam Altman be there. Because if we just pause for a moment and think who Sam Altman is at the end of the day. Okay, he's the CEO of OpenAI since 2019. But he's being the leader of one of the three most major players in the AI race, and his decision-making could arguably affect directly the future of the whole humanity. So if OpenAI succeeds in summoning the first AGI to the world, it will be one of the most important people that have ever lived. He has many times expressed concern about existential risk in the past, and yet he has been acting in a completely inconsistent way. And frequently he's accused of being disingenuous, Machiavellian, manipulative. In one of his most dramatic recent moments included a failed attempt for OpenAI board of directors to oust him, exactly because they concluded that they could not trust him. And that's a decision he managed to overturn and eventually used to establish a new board of loyalists, as I was saying earlier. So yeah, this guy is really might be the most important guy in the human history if he brings AGI to existence. And now it's important that we see him in the court and, the public gets to hear about these concepts, these concerns. I think it's a great win for our cause.
Yeah, and just a little bit of background on this case for viewers out there who may not understand like what it's all about. So basically, 4 people at StopAI are on trial for blocking the front entrance to an OpenAI facility. They do it. The cops show up. The cops say, "Will you move? I'm going to arrest you if you don't." They say no, they ask them 3 times, then they arrest them, they take them to jail, process them, and release them. And so it could be a simple trial. But what StopAI is trying to do is to have the judge say, we are actually going to have a real trial here about this necessity defense. And what StopAI is saying is it's like a baby in a hot car. And, you know, if the baby's in the hot car, you don't sit around and talk about what the laws are. You punch out the window and save the baby. And so they're saying that by blocking the front entrance to OpenAI, it is a necessity that OpenAI is literally directly threatening their lives, and they are doing it in a necessity defense posture. So it's an open question as to whether the judge is going to say, yes, we will allow expert testimony. We will allow Sam Altman to be talking on this stand at this trial. But there is some chance it actually really happens. I think the subpoena was a really good sign. So, Liron, what do you think about Sam possibly having to sit under oath and talk about what he's doing?
So from a process perspective, it's definitely not ideal, I think, because it's like, you know, they're calling Sam Altman to defend that OpenAI isn't like leaving the kid in the hot car, you know, defend kind of the whole program of what OpenAI is doing. On some level, great. Yeah, there should be some way to summon Sam Altman to defend what OpenAI is doing. I've been saying that's been sorely missing. It's just weird that the first time it's ever happened is because of these guys doing nonviolent resistance in front of his office. Like, that's obviously a broken system that it has to happen that way. And there's another element which is very distasteful, which is the guy who's serving the subpoena. We saw that video. Michael tweeted it. Maybe you guys can edit it in, which is the process server, I guess, working for the public defender of San Francisco, does rush on stage in a public appearance, rush towards Sam. And then I guess Sam's plainclothes bodyguard kind of steps forward and takes it and protects Sam. But look, I mean, when somebody's rushing you on a stage, you remember what happened to like Salman Rushdie, right? He got like stabbed in the eye real bad. It's like, you don't want to get your society to a situation where you're going on stage and somebody's rushing you. Like, you know, Sam Altman had a right to be fearing for his life in that moment, right? Even though it turned out to be physically harmless. And that's just really like a degradation of society that he has to experience. So I'm not happy with that part. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, Sam has been like, you know, avoiding the subpoena, and this is like the only time to do it. But just, you know, I'm definitely against rushing stages. I don't think I would have rushed the stage. I would have recommended that they rush the stage. Now, there is a silver lining, though. I can play the other side, which is like, look, where is Sam going to account for his actions, right? He's refused to do any kind of debates. Like the AI CEOs have, you know, they haven't come on Doom debates. They haven't come one-on-one with anybody who's debating them. They've gone on their own friendly media and made their case there. We're missing the social institution where people have to come and defend their actions. A court of law is supposed to be a place where you defend whether or not you're causing a bunch of harm. So my overall analysis of this is like, it sucks that it happened this way. Like it's lame that this particular venue in this particular way is calling out Sam, but two can play at this game because like you call it a cheap shot to get Sam out this way. You know what else is a cheap shot? What Sam has been doing the whole time, licensing himself to build AI with no particular laws on the books because the government is too slow to stop him. So he's been taking advantage of the weakness of government. And now the StopAI side is taking advantage of San Francisco being quite aggressive about subpoenaing AI CEOs, right? So I feel like it's like, okay, cheap shot versus cheap shot. Like that's, you play the game.
And I think it's really important to always call out here, as we do when we start to talk about violence and AI risk and all that stuff, that like nonviolence is the only path. Nonviolence is the only acceptable approach to dealing with AI risk. And it's also important to point out, StopAI to date has been entirely 100.0% nonviolent.
100%.
So, you know, there is an effort to conjure and project violence onto StopAI from the people who are literally threatening our families with the ultimate violence of all, right? Extinction, whatever that would look like. So I think it is important to point out that some people want to paint violence onto this. And when you have a guy walking up to a stage, that certainly has connotations, notes of things that have happened in the past. But I do think it's important to point out that factually, this whole thing is entirely nonviolent to date. Michael?
Yeah, I just want to add that even though I said all that stuff earlier about how, you know, Sam Altman is, you know, he navigates politics, power games, influences his way to the top. But for me, I don't think, I'm not saying him as an evil entity, right? The problem is that he just happened to be driving the wheel of the doomsday machine. And I truly believe the problem is with the incentive structure. So I will say if something happened to Sam, let's say he retired or something, the kind of person who will be the full package, like tick all the checkboxes to lead OpenAI, will be another very similar person. They might differ in the theatrics on the surface, but the substance will be the same because a guy like Jeffrey Hinton will not be able to survive in this role. And if, let's say, somehow we enforce it that only him can lead OpenAI, then I think OpenAI will be soon outcompeted. It will be outcompeted by another Machiavellian corporate. And now we'll have this warning shot about another company and another CEO. And the race to the cliff will stay strong. Nothing important will have changed. But having said all that, it's also important to clarify that those guys are not saints. And if a leading lab CEO did resign and had, let's say, started full-time advocating for AI safety and stuff, then that will have a huge ripple effect and the world will listen. So these people do have power, the power to shift the tide with their personal story, but also none of that will be quite enough to stop the doom train. And I think only global coordination and grassroots-driven policy change could have an impact. These CEOs are a bit like kids, actually, playing with toys. And now their toy is just something very powerful, like a nuclear bomb. And the thing that's missing is the adults from the room. And in this case, it's the regulation, constraints, the structure. And it's not like, we need to take away their toy so that they cannot harm themselves and everyone else. And they can play with something safe.
Yeah, I like it. And Liron is literally the adult in the room right now, trying to keep these children from doing things.
If you like the content we're making here on the AI Risk Network, but you're not a subscriber, what are you thinking? We need everyone to be a subscriber. Do it.
Before we wrap out, let's do a little bit about this Anthropic thing where we have, the good people of Anthropic taking people from the safety side and having them go work for the company that is building AGI just like everybody else. Liron, thoughts on Anthropic's corporate, their hiring practices, I guess you might say.
The news from this week was that Joe Carlsmith moved over from Open Philanthropy to Anthropic. Anthropic is kind of like this big octopus, this big, the 800-pound gorilla in the room, where you previously had this culture of people who are worried about AI risk, AI danger, and trying to raise the alarm, trying to pause AI. And then Anthropic comes on the scene and it's like, you know what the reasonable thing to do is, everybody? We should all just build it, but then also research safety while we build it. And we'll put out these concern papers, but also we'll build it and we'll stay in the lead and we'll have all these data centers too. We'll be part of the race. We'll be part of the bad guys, but also we'll research safety too. And I call them the best of the worst, because it's kind of like saying, hey, you know how everybody's driving off a cliff and you guys wanted to pump the brakes? You know what we should do? Drive alongside too, but we'll also pump the brakes a little bit too. So we'll just be part of driving and pumping the brakes a little bit, even though the brakes are way too weak to stop the car. And the problem with Anthropic is they've got this vortex where they're sucking everybody in with money and social status. So like all of these adjacent people who are looking at the landscape being like, what would be the ideal outcome? Stopping AI because we're running off a cliff and there's no undo button. But then Anthropic saying, no, look, don't you want to have a balanced position? Don't you want to partly race, partly stop? And everybody who's just going against it being like, why the heck would you work at Anthropic? Like, that's bad overall what they're doing. It doesn't make sense. It's very, very tempting. Like, there's a lot of social pressure to be like, just come, make a lot of money, because obviously they pay a lot of money. They're valued at, $200 billion, high salaries, high stock. Come over here. We'll pay you so much. You can write these papers. You'll have all these respect. You can go to conferences. Everybody will think that you're a serious player, not one of these people on the sidelines. And so basically they've robbed the sidelines. There's fewer and fewer people on the sidelines being like, what the heck is going on? Why are you guys doing this? And it's, people don't talk that much about Anthropic being the puppet master, but it's pretty harmful.
Yeah. Michael, any thoughts about this?
Yeah, I have a few thoughts. So as Leon was saying, big players like OpenAI and Anthropic are scooping up vocal pose AI types. Think researchers or activists with fat salaries, like maybe 6 figures, to work on safety stuff. Then, NDAs or team pressure kicks in and suddenly they don't, they're not blasting warnings on Twitter anymore. It's like co-opting the resistance. You're not quieting them down without firing a shot. But with Anthropic specifically, it's even worse because when Anthropic kicked off back in 2021, it was founded by a handful of ex-OpenAI brains like Dario and his sister. And back then it was about safety, they were not happy with the breakneck pace of OpenAI. And it's supposedly baked into the DNA. And they're all about these reliably interpretable, steerable systems. But and they have constitutional AI and the responsible scaling policy, which all sounds very fancy and safe. And but what they're actually doing is safety washing, which is similar to big tobacco. They're paying experts to say cigarettes are harmless, while they know they're causing cancer. And it stings extra because they started as rebels, and now they are raising the alarm constantly. They're warning about dystopia and doom, but they're still racing, funding, safety theater, red team, poking holes publicly to burn its, their reputation. But the real game is dividends from the next big model drop. And it's like a detox center that sells booze on the side. And, it reassures the public enough to keep the checks flowing, but it doesn't hit the brakes.
Yeah.
And it's super dangerous because the folks buy the halo, thinking someone is watching the cliff.
Yeah.
So it's actually much worse, I feel, than someone who's...
Yeah. Now, I'll just make a little amendment to that. I wouldn't say they're safety washing AI, because I wouldn't say that they're claiming, hey, what we're doing is safe. They constantly put out research saying, hey, here's a bunch of stuff we found. Why? Yeah, one sec. Raz, 1 second, buddy. Hold on. Okay.
Hold on, I have a guest star here too. We're good. Yeah. Go on.
They keep putting out paper. Oh, yeah, whenever you're ready.
Yep. No, go for it.
Oh, hello.
Yep. Got it a little.
So they keep putting out research papers saying
for something
you should be worried. This might not go right. But they also keep putting out the message that it's okay because we'll figure something out. Oh, that's sorry. Now the kid's like yelling.
I think this is perfect. I think this is the right way to end the show. I think this is the perfect way to end this one.
This episode is
Let's have a kid do the warning shots. I'm going to have Dolly do a warning shot here. Dolly, I have a guest right here. Dolly is going to come in and do a warning shot. Ready?
Nice.
You got one, Michael?
I did it professionally.
You're on. Professionally. That was discreet and professional.
Hold on. Sorry, I'll just finish the point here. So... Okay, so they're giving the impression that it's okay that we're identifying all these problems because we're productively working on everything. Like, we're going to figure something out. But if you zoom out, it's like, wait a minute, the problem is incredibly huge and it looks intractable and you're probably not going to figure anything out. So why do you keep focusing on how you're trying to figure something out when really we should just step back and be like, put up a warning sign being like, hey, we're not ready to go here.
Yeah.
So they're tractability watching.
A stop work order. All right.
Yeah.
Liron, you do your warning shot, and we will end this exciting show we've had today.
All right, sounds good.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. Jerry, who's going to edit the show? I apologize for whatever the hell is in these files.
Jerry will do a warning shot like this.
All right. See you guys next week.